The Grand Slam of North American Wild Sheep has been around since Grancel Fitz coined the phrase in 1947. Less than a decade later, the Grand Slam Club was founded by Bob Householder in 1956. The recipients here tonight prove the Grand Slam is as important today as it was to Grancel Fitz and Bob Householder in the beginning. We'll be breaking this large number of Grand Slammers into groups. Grand Slam number 1826 belongs to Colorado's Bo Maurer. Bo hunted Dall sheep in Alaska's Chugach Range in 2003, and in 2008 he became a half slammer after taking a Rocky Mountain Bighorn in his home state of Colorado. Next for Bo was his stone sheep from British Columbia, taken in 2012, and he achieved his Grand Slam in 2013 with a Desert Bighorn from Colorado taken on a self-guided hunt. Grand Slam number 2134 belongs to Wayne Barra of Colorado. Wayne's final ram was a Desert Bighorn from Sonora, Mexico, taken in December 2019. Wayne's first ram was a Dall taken in the NWT back in 1993. A year later, Wayne became a half slammer with the stone sheep he took in BC. He then traveled to Wyoming in 2003 to take his third sheep, which was the Rocky Mountain Bighorn. We're pleased to recognize Grand Slammer number 2139, Otto Walters of Arizona. Like many others, the Dall sheep was first for Otto, and he took that ram on a hunt in NWT back in 1985. Otto hunted the Rocky Mountain Bighorn in 1992 and took a nice ram in Alberta, Canada. Then in 2002, Otto took a Fannin in the Yukon to get his three-quarter slam mark. Otto achieved his Grand Slam with the Desert Bighorn in Arizona in December 2019. Billy Kreider of Georgia holds Grand Slam number 2140. His first ram, a Dall sheep, was taken in NWT back in 1990. Billy got his stone sheep in 1993 on a trip to British Columbia. Then in 2005, he traveled to Alberta, Canada, and achieved his three-quarter slam status with a Rocky Mountain Bighorn. In May of 2020, Billy finished his Grand Slam with a Desert Bighorn from Texas. Grand Slam number 2141 belongs to Scott Butterfield of Seattle, Washington. Scott's final ram was a Desert Bighorn taken in Sonora, Mexico in February 2020. Scott began his quest in 2006 with a Dall sheep he took in the Alaska Range. He then traveled to Alberta, Canada in 2011 to take his Rocky Mountain Bighorn, and then reached three-quarter slam status in 2018 with a stone sheep from British Columbia. Grand Slam number 2146 belongs to Arnold Esslinger of British Columbia, Canada. Arnold traveled to the Yukon in August 2019 to get his Dall sheep as his first leg toward his eventual Grand Slam. Amazingly, in 2020, Arnold completed his Grand Slam first with a Desert sheep in January that was taken in Mexico, and then in August he traveled to BC and took his stone sheep, and 1 month later finished his Grand Slam with a Rocky Mountain Bighorn taken in Alberta, Canada. Grand Slam number 2149 belongs to Pat O'Neill of Foley, Minnesota. Pat began his quest for the Grand Slam in 1993 when he traveled to the Yukon and took his Dall sheep. 1 year later, Pat was in British Columbia and connected with his stone sheep to become a half slammer. Some 19 years later, in 2013, Pat took a nice Desert Bighorn in Nevada. And in September 2020, Pat traveled to Wyoming and completed his Grand Slam with the Rocky Mountain Bighorn. Gary Sabalik of Minnesota is Grand Slammer number 2155. Like many others, he began with a Dall sheep in the Yukon, taken in 2014. Later that same year, he traveled to Mexico for his Desert Bighorn. Then in August 2016, Gary found himself in BC to take his stone sheep. He finished his Grand Slam on a self-guided hunt in North Dakota with the Rocky Mountain Bighorn in 2020. Grand Slam number 2156 has been assigned to Stephen Hoblick of California after he took a Rocky Mountain Bighorn in November 2020. His first sheep was a Dall taken in 2008 in NWT. In 2015, he took his stone sheep in the Cassiar Mountains of British Columbia. His three-quarter slam ram was the Desert Bighorn that he took in 2019. We received a very excited phone call from James Sullivan of Wisconsin after he took a Desert sheep in late 2020 to complete Grand Slam number 2162. His first ram was taken in 2010, a Dall ram from the Brooks Range in Alaska. He hunted in British Columbia in August 2017 to get his stone ram and became a three-quarter slammer in 2018 after documenting a South Dakota Rocky Mountain Bighorn. Grand Slam number 2163 belongs to Kentucky's Lowell Stevens III, and his Grand Slam journey began in 2004 with the Doll Sheep from Alaska's Brooks Range. The stone was next for Lowell, and he took it in 2008 on a hunt in BC. A few years later, Lowell became a three-quarter slammer after taking an Alberta Bighorn in 2019, and he completed his Grand Slam in 2020 with the Desert Bighorn from Carmen Island, Mexico. That completes Group 1. And now for our next group. Brian Wyndham of Texas holds Grand Slam number 2165, and he achieved that milestone with a Desert Bighorn from Sonora, Mexico in 2020. Brian began his Grand Slam journey in 2006 with Alaska Doll, and his stone from BC was taken on a hunt in 2008. Brian's third ram towards his eventual slam was a Rocky Mountain Bighorn from Alberta, which he got back in 2010. Next, we call Grand Slam number 2166 and Danny Spindler of Indiana to the stage. Like so many others, the Doll was first for Danny, and he connected on a fine ram in the Yukon back in 1996. The Desert Bighorn was next for Danny, and he got that ram on a hunt in Sonora, Mexico in 2015. In 2018, Danny traveled to BC for the stone, and the following year, he got back to BC, only this time had his sights set on a California Bighorn to complete his Grand Slam. Grand Slam number 2167 has been assigned to Scott Failer of Pennsylvania. In 2003, Scott hunted Doll sheep in Alaska's Wrangell Mountains and took his first North American ram. The stone sheep was next for Scott, and he took it in 2007. The following year, Scott added a Rocky Mountain Bighorn to become a three-quarter slammer, and he achieved his Grand Slam in November 2020 with the Desert Bighorn from Sonora, Mexico. It was 20 years from start to finish for Grand Slammer number 2169, Scott Rackman of Utah. In the year 2000, Scott connected on both a Doll sheep in Alaska and a Desert Bighorn in his home state of Utah. Then in 2002, Scott added a stone sheep from British Columbia to his list. 18 years later, Scott was finally able to complete his Grand Slam quest with the Rocky Mountain Bighorn taken self-guided again in his home state of Utah. We're pleased to recognize John Lee of North Carolina for achieving Grand Slam number 2173. The Desert Bighorn was first for John. He took that ram in April 2016 on a hunt in South Baja, Mexico. Later that same year, John scored with a Rocky Mountain Bighorn in Wyoming. In 2017, John made his way up to the Northwest Territories for a Doll sheep, and he completed his Grand Slam in 2019 with a stone ram from BC. Grand Slam number 2174 has been permanently assigned to Dean Helms of Michigan, and his first ram towards the Grand Slam was a Doll from NWT, which he got back in 2005. The stone was next for Dean. He got that on a hunt in BC in 2007. Dean's three-quarter slam ram was a Rocky Mountain Bighorn from Alberta, and he completed his Grand Slam in February 2021 with the Desert Bighorn from Carmen Island, Mexico. Dean's wife Marlene was with Dean on his Desert Bighorn hunt, and she passed away in June 2021 after a battle with cancer. We're pleased to pay tribute and honor both Marlene and Dean here tonight. It was a Desert Bighorn from Tiburon Island, Mexico, taken in December 2019 that earned Greg Bittinger of Michigan Grand Slam number 2175. Backing up Greg's first North American ram was a Doll from NWT taken in 2016. The stone was next for Greg. He took that ram on a hunt in British Columbia in 2018. We'll finish up by showing you Greg's California Bighorn, also from BC, which he got in 2019. Grand Slam number 2177 belongs to Walter Miller of California. In 1988, Walt traveled to Alaska to get his Doll sheep. His next ram, a Rocky Mountain Bighorn from Wyoming, came in 2000, and he became a three-quarter slammer in 2012 after taking a stone sheep in BC. Walt's Grand Slam ram, a Desert Bighorn, came in December 2020 while on a hunt in Sonora, Mexico. Grand Slam number 2180 belongs to Tony Caligiuri of Iowa. The Doll sheep was first for Tony, and he took that ram on a hunt in the Yukon in 1989. His first Desert Bighorn was taken on a hunt in Arizona in 1990, and he got his first stone sheep in 2003 on a hunt in BC. Tony achieved his first Grand Slam in 2020 with a California Bighorn from Idaho. Tony will be recognized for his second Grand Slam later tonight. That completes Group 2. And now for our next group. Chris Settlemeyer of Nevada has been assigned Grand Slam number 2185. Chris began his quest for an eventual Grand Slam in 2016 with a stone sheep from British Columbia. The California Bighorn was next for Chris, and he took that ram right here in Nevada on a self-guided hunt. Chris became a three-quarter slammer in 2018 after taking his doll sheep in the Yukon, and his Grand Slam ram, a Desert Bighorn from California, came in September 2021. Now let's recognize Grand Slammer number 2191, Jeff Eno of the Yukon. Jeff completed his Grand Slam in September 2021 with a Rocky Mountain Bighorn from Alberta. The doll was first for Jeff, and that Yukon ram came in 2013 on a self-guided hunt. Jeff hunted Desert Bighorns in Sonora, Mexico in 2018 and took a heavy ram there. And we'll finish up with Jeff's stone sheep from the Yukon, which also was taken on a self-guided hunt. Next, we call Grand Slammer number 2195, Dan Warren of Nevada, to the stage for Grand Slam recognition. It was a Homestead California Bighorn taken in 1997 that got Dan started on his Grand Slam journey, and in 2000 he became a half slammer after taking another Homestead trophy, a Desert Bighorn. The doll was next for Dan, and he took that ram on a hunt in Alaska in 2006. He achieved his Grand Slam in 2021 with a Fannin ram from the Yukon. California's Anthony Gus Osterkamp Jr. actually completed his Grand Slam number 2196 back in 2006 with the Rocky Mountain Bighorn, but only recently documented it with GSCO. Gus's first ram was a Desert Bighorn from Nevada taken back in 1985 on a self-guided hunt. He became a half slammer in 2002 after connecting on an Alaskan doll, and his three-quarter slam ram was a stone sheep which he got in BC back in 2005. Grand Slam number 2197 belongs to William Craig McKenzie of California. Back in 2009, William hunted doll sheep in NWT and connected on a fine ram there to kick off his Grand Slam journey. The stone sheep was next, and that ram from BC was taken in 2015. William took his Desert Bighorn in 2017 on Carmen Island, Mexico, and his final ram, a Rocky Mountain Bighorn from Wyoming, was taken in September 2018. We're pleased to recognize Grand Slam number 2198, Terrell McCombs of Texas. Terrell's first ram was Alaska doll taken back in 2004. In 2007, he took a heavy stone ram on a hunt in British Columbia. He got a Rocky Mountain Bighorn in Colorado in 2014, and in November 2021, Terrell achieved his Grand Slam with a fine Desert Bighorn from here in Nevada. Next, we call Grand Slammer number 2200, David Olivier of California, to the stage to receive his Grand Slam, which was completed in 2019 with a Rocky Mountain Bighorn from Colorado. David took a doll sheep in NWT in 2005, and his stone from BC came in 2013, which got him to half slam status. David's three-quarter slam ram, a Desert Bighorn from Sonora, Mexico, was taken in March of 2014. It was a 37-year quest from start to finish for Grand Slammer number 2205, James August of Oregon, which began back in 1981 with a doll sheep from NWT. The Rocky Mountain Bighorn was next for James. He took that ram on a hunt in Alberta in 1983. James took a stone sheep in BC in 1990 to become a three-quarter slammer, and he completed his Grand Slam with a Desert Bighorn from Sonora, Mexico in 2018. It was a Desert Bighorn from Nevada that earned Mark Zastro of Wisconsin Grand Slam number 2206, and he took that ram in December 2021. Mark's earliest North American ram was a doll from NWT taken in 1987. The stone sheep was next for Mark. He took that ram in BC back in 1990. Mark's three-quarter slam ram, a Rocky Mountain Bighorn from Wyoming, was taken back in 2001. That concludes our Rifle Grand Slam awards, but remember, we still have the Archery Grand Slams, Lady Grand Slams, and multiple Grand Slammers to go. Each year we recognize archery Grand Slams separately. Those slams have their regular Grand Slam documentation number, but they have an additional number representing an archery Grand Slam. To date, there have been only 82 documented archery Grand Slams. Archery Grand Slam number 73 and Grand Slam number 2088 belongs to Spencer Quinn of California. Like many others, Spencer's sheep hunting journey began with the Doll in July 2017 in NWT. His Rocky Mountain Bighorn was next, September of the same year in Idaho. Spencer's three-quarter slam ram was a stone taken in BC in 2018, and he finished his archery Grand Slam in 2019 with a Desert Bighorn. Grand Slam number 2127 and archery Grand Slam number 78 belongs to Joel Maxfield of Wisconsin. Joel's final ram was a Desert Bighorn from Sonora, Mexico, taken in December 2019. Looking back on Joel's first three rams, his Doll sheep was taken in 2013 while hunting in the NWT. In 2016, he traveled to the Yukon to take a nice Fannin sheep. He then reached three-quarter slam status on a self-guided hunt in 2019 with a California Bighorn. Grand Slam number 2138 and archery Grand Slam number 79 belonged to Tom Edgington of Pennsylvania. Tom began his quest for the Grand Slam in 2011 on a trip to Baja, Mexico, where he took his Desert Bighorn. The following year, Tom traveled to BC and connected with his stone sheep. Then in 2013, on a trip to NWT, Tom got his Doll. Tom completed his Grand Slam with a Rocky Mountain Bighorn in 2019. The 80th Archery Grand Slam to date was documented by Don Thompson of Missouri. He had originally been assigned Grand Slam number 1985 in 2017, but recently registered the Doll ram you see here, taken in 2020 to complete his archery slam. His other archery trophies from his original Grand Slam were a 2010 Bighorn from Alberta, a 2016 Desert Sheep from Utah, and a 2017 Stone Sheep from the Yukon. Grand Slam number 2203 and archery slam number 82 has been assigned to Florida's Preston Farrier. The Doll sheep was first for Preston, and he arrowed that ram in 2012 on a hunt at NWT. Moving along, you see Preston with his Desert Bighorn from South Baja, Mexico, taken in 2015, and he took his last two rams in August of 2021. The first was a Rocky Mountain Bighorn from Arizona, and he achieved his archery Grand Slam with a stone sheep from BC. That completes this group. As with the archery Grand Slammers, we recognize Lady Grand Slammers separately. Those slams also have regular Grand Slam documentation numbers, with additional numbers representing the sequence as a Lady Grand Slammer. To date, there have been 76 documented Lady Grand Slammers. Well, it was a Rocky Mountain Bighorn from Arizona that earned Amy Harris of Georgia Grand Slam number 2192 and Lady Grand Slam number 76. Backing up, Amy's first North American ram was a Doll sheep from the Yukon, taken back in 2011. The stone was next for Amy, and that BC ram came in 2013. Amy took a Desert Bighorn on a hunt in Mexico in 2017 to get to the three-quarter slam mark. When it comes to sheep hunting fever, some people accept the challenge to take multiple Grand Slams. Tonight we have several people who have documented multiple Grand Slams to recognize. Earlier tonight we recognized Iowa's Tony Caligiuri for completing his first Grand Slam, and ironically, he finished his second Grand Slam the same year with a Rocky Mountain Bighorn from Colorado. Tony's second Doll sheep came on a hunt in NWT back in 2014. The stone was next for Tony. He took that fine ram on a hunt in BC in 2018. Later that same year, Tony took a great Desert Bighorn in Mexico to round out tonight's presentation. It was a Rocky Mountain Bighorn from Colorado that got Alan Schaefer of Colorado started towards his eventual second Grand Slam. Alan traveled to Alaska in 2009 to get his second Doll, and his second Desert Bighorn came in 2012 while on a hunt in New Mexico. We'll finish up Alan's second Grand Slam presentation with the Fannin ram that he got on a hunt in the Yukon in 2021. We're pleased to recognize Jerry C. Walters of Arizona for achieving his second Grand Slam. Jerry actually documented his second slam back in 2007 after taking a Doll Sheep in NWT, and we're finally able to recognize him here tonight. Jerry's second desert from Baja, Mexico was taken back in 1983. His second Rocky Mountain Bighorn came in 1999 in his home state of Arizona on a self-guided hunt. Jerry's Fannin will round out his presentation, and he got that ram in the Yukon back in 2002. A third Grand Slam has been registered by Jimmy John Leotoad of Illinois. The first sheep for his third slam was a desert sheep from Sonora, Mexico, taken in 2004. In 2009, Jimmy John hunted in Montana to get the Rocky Mountain Bighorn. Next came a Doll Sheep from NWT that he took in 2015, and he finished his third slam in 2018 with a stone from BC. Kevin Klumper of Washington's up next to receive his third Grand Slam, and will begin with his Fannin ram from the Yukon taken in August 2019. The following month, Kevin connected on another California Bighorn, and he took a Great Desert Bighorn on Carmen Island, Mexico in November 2020. Kevin completed his third Grand Slam in August of 2021 with an impressive Doll Sheep from Alaska. Our next multiple Grand Slammers to recognize are husband and wife Doug and Shelley Sayer. Doug's third Doll Sheep was taken in 2011 on a hunt in NWT. His third Desert Bighorn came on a hunt in Mexico in 2016, and in 2019, Doug took two incredible rams to round out his third Grand Slam. They include a Great Stone Sheep from BC and a home state Rocky Mountain Bighorn that scored an amazing 203 7/8 inches. Well, not to be outdone, Shelley Sayer's up next, and we'll start with her third Rocky Mountain Bighorn, which she took in 2013 in her home state of Idaho. Later that same year, Shelley connected on a Desert Bighorn in California. Shelley traveled to Alaska in 2015 to get her tremendous Doll Sheep, and we'll round out her presentation here tonight with her Stone Sheep from British Columbia, taken in November 2019, which completed her third Grand Slam. We're pleased to recognize bow hunter Tom Foss of Alberta for achieving his fourth archery Grand Slam. Tom's fourth doll came in 2017 on a hunt in NWT. Tom has taken several Desert Bighorns, but his fourth ram, a Whimsy, was arrowed in 2015 while hunting Carmen Island, Mexico. Tom arrowed a California Bighorn in southern BC in 2020, and he completed both his fourth archery Grand Slam as well as the Archery Magnificent 7 in September 2021 with the Fannin ram from the Yukon. We now have a special multiple Grand Slam to recognize. Not only has George Lawrence III of Washington achieved his 9th Grand Slam, he has also finished the first ever crossbow Grand Slam. George's crossbow Grand Slam began in 2018 with a Doll Sheep from NWT, and that same year he took a Desert Bighorn in Hermosillo, Mexico. The following year, he traveled to BC to get his Stone Sheep, and he finished his crossbow Grand Slam in August of 2021 with a Rocky Mountain Bighorn in Wyoming. That completes all of our Grand Slam awards for this year. Let's give them all a big round of applause.